Cuando la gente te mire y vea lo que cuesta vivir en el corazón de esto, quedará fascinada por ti, qué menos.
President Abraham Lincoln was a statesman, a highly effective military leader, but we basically concentrated our story on Lincoln's political skills. Lincoln never lost the ability to make things happen through compromise. The thing he had the most faith in was the democratic process. And when it's working, it can bring about revolutionary changes, especially when you're a leader like Lincoln, who listened to and believed in the people. We focused only on the last 4 months of Lincoln's life because we wanted to show Lincoln accomplishing something great, something really monumental, and that was abolishing slavery and ending the Civil War. We also wanted to show that he was a man, not a monument. And our best hope of understanding and doing justice to this immensely complicated person was to depict his fight to pass the 13th Amendment on the floor of the House of Representatives.
El Congreso no debe declarar iguales a aquellos que Dios ha creado desiguales. ¡Bravo! ¡Sí, señor!
¿Vas a intentar que la Cámara apruebe la enmienda que aboliría la esclavitud? Nadie es tan querido como tú. No malgastes ese poder.
By choosing the last 4 months of the war, you get not only a beginning, a middle, and end to an incredibly thrilling question of whether the 13th Amendment is going to pass the Congress, but it also means that Lincoln has to weigh in his soul that the war might be extended as a result of this process. He knows that that's important for the long run, but everybody who dies in the meantime, he has to feel as a personal responsibility.
Piensen cuántos chicos morirán si no se firma la paz.
Lincoln first signed the Emancipation Proclamation as a war document. The only reason it was legal was that he could argue that slaves were being used by the Confederates to help in the military battles.
The Emancipation Proclamation was handy at the time. It was very shaky, even of questionable legality.
Once the war came to an end, what would happen to the slaves? Then he knew the next phase had to be the 13th Amendment.
A lot of people think that the Emancipation Proclamation was the greatest act of Lincoln's political life. But the 13th Amendment was one of the most important events in American history, because what's more important than abolishing slavery for all time?
No puedo acabar con la guerra hasta que logremos curarnos de la esclavitud. Esta enmienda es la cura.
The script deals with the machinations of a moment in history, of what it took. The back rooms, the wheelings and dealings, the compromises, all that went into pushing through one of the most important amendments to the Constitution ever. The long view that he had was something very few people can live with. Does the end justify the means?
A lot of people lost their lives to get that amendment passed. It is a very interesting story.
Van a procurarme esos votos.
Los diputados salen baratos, 2.000 pavos y compra los que quiera.
No podemos comprar el voto para la enmienda.
¿Sabe lo que puede hacer?
Did Lincoln overreach his authority as president? There are certainly gray areas in the balance of powers. Lincoln stretched these powers in unprecedented ways, and he occasionally went beyond where he knew the courts would follow. I think there's an argument to whether some or all of what he did was actually necessary, though we believe history's verdict declines in Lincoln's favor.
La abolición de la esclavitud determina el destino no solo de los millones que hoy viven sometidos, también de los millones que nacerán.
When you watch the way in which Lincoln finessed the question of slavery, you see somebody who, with a kind of unbelievable mastery, understands how to move the population through talking and through legislation and action.
It's the man himself that invites you because he was so open, and that was one of the most beautiful surprises. It was him that put me at my ease and gave me the thought that, well, maybe I could try to do this.
Va a ser votada. ¡No! ¡Insultas a Dios!
Es una lucha a muerte.
¡Sí! ¡Traidor!
Soy el presidente, investido de un poder inmenso.